On the quiet banks of the Wicomico River, in the tiny village of Whitehaven, there stands a hotel that's seen more than 2 centuries of stories, and maybe even a few souls who never checked out.
Ooh, built around 1810 as a building roadside inn, the Whitehaven Hotel once welcomed sailors, salesmen, and strangers passing through. But whispers of a ghostly presence wandering the halls have persisted over the years. And it is a topic that author and amateur historian Andy Nunez has written about before in his Ghost Books series. Welcome, Andy, to DelmarvaLife.
Happy to be here.
Okay. So can you give us a little more background on the hotel and what it came to be?
Sure. Well, for context, Whitehaven is one of the oldest incorporated towns in Maryland. It was incorporated in 1735. But there was a ferry running there since 1685, making it one of the longest continuing ferry operations in the country.
Really?
Yes. So it grew up as a small town, founded by George Washington's mother's second husband.
Okay.
And eventually grew up as shipbuilding. It became a port of entry for Maryland and was a lot of shipbuilding during the First and Second World War. So all these mansions grew up around it. Most of the colonial mansions anyway are gone, except for Bolton, which was built about 1710. But as we noted, about 1810, they decided to build a little roadside inn for weary travelers, mostly salesmen, that sort of thing, who were just passing through.
Interesting.
So it underwent major renovations in the Victorian period. In 1886, these two brothers named Leatherbury bought it, and by 1891, Charles Leatherbury was the sole owner of the Whitehaven Hotel.
So how did it get the reputation of being haunted?
Well, that's a sad story. Mr. Leatherbury had a daughter named Emily, and while him and his wife would be working in the hotel, she would be playing, and she played all over the place because he lived in a house just down the road from it that recently burned to the ground. So Emily was kind of on her own, and Emily liked the water, so there was this little boat out in front of the hotel, and she got in the boat, she paddled out in the water, and I don't know exactly what happened, but the boat capsized and Emily drowned.
Oh.
And her father looked out the window and saw this, and it was too late. In more recent times, people have started having experiences, finding candy wrappers on the stairs on at least 3 different occasions.
Interesting.
And when they were doing the renovation for the current owners, in the wall they found a packet of paper dolls, and on it was inscribed Emily, age 7.
Really?
Wow.
So, and one of the managers over there just told us the other day that she had put out 3 eggs, and then she came back and there was a green apple sitting on top of them. But the scariest of all, or not scariest, but the most amazing of all, was during a Valentine event, there was a fella sitting at this table, and all of a sudden the candle at the center of the table lifted up, moved, and then fell over.
Oh my goodness.
And he's like, I'm not doing this.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
So you yourself have actually experienced some paranormal activity in the Whitehaven.
Not in the hotel itself, because they haven't let any investigators in, but I was over at the church, the historic Whitehaven Methodist Church. It was built in the 1880s. Beautiful interior built by ship's carpenters, so it actually looks like the design of the side of a ship. But I was with a paranormal group, the Delmarva Spirit Hunters, and they had all their devices set up. And one year I was in there, and they had this K2 meter that detects electromagnetic force on the railing in front of the pulpit. They had what they called a REM pod on the pulpit, which captures static electricity. You have to put your hand next to it for it to go off. And this cat toy, a little ball that would light up if cats batted it, on the piano. And what was happening was the K2 meter was going off, then the REM pod was going off. The K2 meter would stop, REM pod would go off, REM pod would stop, then the ball, which had to be moved, to light up started lighting up. And then it went back to the meter, then the pie, and this went on for several minutes, and then nothing.
Andy Nunez, and of course you have your books, so
Yes,
we'll have a link so that you can read some of his books, get a hold of them. Thank you so much for coming in,
Always
and
our
happy
pleasure.
Halloween.
Thank you.
Just in time for Halloween.